All right, folks. Well, welcome to this Friday night Bible study. All of you that are here live on Zoom, and also for those of you that will be hearing this on our YouTube channel, welcome to this Bible study. We're excited to have you here. We're going to be covering some new information today. As I indicated on last week, we concluded the book of Genesis, and we're going to take a look at today the Shabbat, the Sabbath. We're going to begin to lay a foundation today on why that day is so important. So we're gonna spend some time on this. We're going to build a case like a good attorney, and we're going to make it very clear how the Most High feels about his day. All right. So today is just a kind of opening introduction to the concepts. So we're going to get ready to get into this. Let's go ahead and pray, and then we're going to get started. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'savana la'asuk b'divri Torah. Bless you, Yahweh our Elohim, King of the universe, who sanctifies us with your commandments and command us to engross ourselves in the words of Torah. All right, so I'm going ahead and share my screen. We're going to get right into this word today. So we're looking at today, remember the Sabbath day. Remember the Sabbath day. And it's interesting because these are the 10 commandments. And the fourth commandment is to remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. And this was written in the very finger of Elohim when he gave these to Moshe, to Moses. So it's interesting that the very thing he told us to remember seemed to be the main thing that people have forgotten. But let's go ahead and lay this foundation today. The question before us today is, does it matter if we rest on the Sabbath day, the seventh day of the week, or on Sunday, the first day of the week? So this is the whole discussion right here. This is the point that we want to get some clarity to, right? Do we rest on the Sabbath day, the seventh, or do we rest on Sunday, the first day of the week? We'll let the word speak on this topic. However, I want to establish the mindset we must have as we explore this subject. Yeshua, in teaching us the pattern of prayer, shed light on the proper attitude we must have as believers and servants of the Most High Elohim. Let's take a look at the prayer he taught on the Mount. So it's from Matthew 6, verses 5 through 14. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. He has a will that's being done in heaven. Now, keep in mind now, the Most High is creator of heaven and earth. He created all things. You know, he's a ruler of all things, and he has a will. Now, as a creator, as a Most High King, do you think in heaven the angels do as he requires? Is there any debate going on? Can you see them going up into the throne room and saying, Most High, I don't think I want to do that today. I know they've been praying and fasting and all that stuff, but I don't want that assignment. You know, we only had one insurrection in heaven. And Yeshua said, I beheld Satan as lightning get blasted out of heaven to the earth, right? So we've only had one of those, and they were very unsuccessful. So I don't see the remaining angels approaching the Most High and saying, I don't want to do that. I just can't see that. So Yeshua's prayer said, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, right? So as we begin this lesson, I want us to remember one very important thing. Elohim is Most High. You don't get higher than him. He is Most High. He dictates policy. He dictates how things are going to be. He has a final say-so. He is in the process right now of building a kingdom, a culture of people that he's going to allow into his presence. This whole earthly experiment from the time of Adam and Eve to today is all about separating out a people for himself. That's it. That's the whole thing in a nutshell. He is seeking for a people that's going to be his. And those that don't want to be, guess what? They don't have to be. It's no debate. You don't have to be his, because one of the things he gave us is free will. We can choose whether to be his or not. He said, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. So that is the very definition of loving the Most High. He gave us a word from Genesis to Revelation. Our responsibility is to study it out, find out what he likes, find out what he don't like, find out what he wants, find out what he don't want. Do those things he like, don't do those things he don't like. And as we do those things that are pleasing in his sight, we have an opportunity to hear him say, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Enter thou into the joy of Yahweh. Right? Did I see a hand?
Yes. One thing the scripture also says that his commandments are not grievous.
That's right.
And what I take from that, my understanding is, that's just like but I love my husband. And so because I love my husband, I'm not going to do anything that's going to cause him to grieve. I'm not going to do anything that's going to cause him any harm. So the Most High is telling us, he gives us commandments, and these commandments are not hard. They're not going to harm you.
Correct.
They're not something that's going to cause you ill. These commandments are really to help us live and to live in a relationship with him.
That's it.
Basically what the commandments are is his love language.
It is. It is. It's his love language. It's the things he loves, the things he enjoys. And you think about it, if you're entering into a relationship with someone, in order for that relationship to really work, they need to know what you like, what you enjoy. You need to know what they like and what they enjoy. And then if you're really sincerely interested in those individuals, you're going to go out of your way to provide those things that are pleasing to them.
Yep.
And they're going to go out of their way to provide those things that are pleasing to you.
Yep.
That's love.
That's love.
Not trying to find ways of getting out of doing stuff that's going to make them happy, right? They love, flowers, and you're going to say, flowers, they're going to die in 2 days. Why am I going to spend that money on flowers? Well, if the person loved the flowers, then buy them.
And you love the person.
Right? You love the person love the flowers. Your job is to buy the flowers. When you do that, you will create joy in the heart of that individual. And I happen to be a person who's married to someone who loves flowers. So, I go out of my way. When it's very possible for me to do it, hey, I'm looking for a dozen roses. And she just lights up like the noonday sun. I mean, hear what I'm saying? So that's what we do. That's the love language. Find out what they enjoy and love, and then do that, right? So remember now, Elohim is Most High. There's none higher. We certainly are not in this class. Our job is to make his world work, right? And by us doing that, he's going to make our world work, right? He is the king. He is the ruler of heaven and earth. Make no mistake about that. There's no one else. He said, I am Elohim, and there is none other. And we've already said it. It's already clear. There's none greater than the Most High. Most High means just that. Most High. There's none higher. And our mission is to do one thing. That's to please our Father. So we're going to shed some light on some things that's going to help to make his world work as we look to please our Father. So how do we please him? Interesting question. How do we do that? How do we go about doing that? By letting his will become our will. By letting his will become our will. So let's take a look at this. Yeshua now is faced with his trial, right? His passion. And, you know, this is a difficult situation that he has to go through. And in the natural, he doesn't want to do it. But it's the very reason why he came. He said, prepare me a body and I will go. He said, the blood of bulls and of goats, we are done away with that. You know, prepare me a body and I will be the sacrifice. And when John the Baptist saw him, he said, behold, the Lamb of Elohim that takes away the sins of the world. So that was his first mission, to complete that assignment, to provide an open door so all of us that choose the Most High can have access to him through the blood of Yeshua. So that's the situation he's facing right now. But now the hour is come. The hour of his passion has come. And can you imagine knowing what you're going to be going through? The most torturous form of capital punishment ever created by man. He's going to go through that. And so in knowing the hour is coming, he's getting ready to pray. And here's his prayer. Our Father, all things are possible for you. Take this cup away from me. Mm-hmm. Nevertheless, not what I will. Isn't that something? Not what I will, but what you will. Mm-hmm. That's how he prayed. And he prayed this way for hours. Mm-hmm. He prayed this way, resisting his own will to take upon the will of the Father. And the scriptures say that he prayed so hard that he began to sweat blood. Blood was coming out of his pores. He had sweated so much that he had become dehydrated. So all the water had passed through his flesh. The only thing he had left to sweat was blood. And blood was coming out of his pores. He was so weak. The scriptures tell us that the angels had to come and strengthen him. Mm-hmm. So this is what he had to do in order to be able to fulfill the will of his Father. Mm-hmm. And Hebrews tell us we have not yet resisted under blood, striving against sin, right? Striving going against his will. So this is what we got to do. Whatever it takes, find out what his will is, and then do his will. Do his will. Look what happened now as a result of Yeshua's obedience. It's in Philippians now. Let this mind be in you, which is also in Mashiach Yeshua, who, being in the form of Elohim, thought it not robbery to be equal with Elohim. But this is what he did now. But made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of men. And being found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross. Wherefore, Elohim also hath highly exalted him and given him a name which is above every name, that at the name of Yeshua, every knee should bow, of things in heaven and things in earth and things under the earth, and that every tongue, can you say every tongue? Every tongue. Every tongue should confess that Yeshua HaMashiach is Adon, to the glory of Elohim the Father. His obedience to the will of the Most High got him the highest name in heaven and earth. That's what we have to look forward to through our own obedience. The promotion, the elevation that can only come from the Father. Okay? As servants of the Most High Elohim, we must allow his will to take first place in our lives. So we just laying a foundation here. What should my attitude be? You know, when I get exposed to his word, his will, what should my attitude be? You know, to put his will first place in our lives, because he has the ultimate reward. How many hear what I'm saying? Now, let's examine his will, his patterns, and how he operates. In Bereshith, in Genesis chapter 1, we see the account of creation, everything from light to the land, the seas, the birds and trees, every sea and land creature of every type, and man, male and female, created in chapter 1 by Elohim in 6 days.
Mhm.
So we see him starting out in the very first chapter working.
Mhm.
He is working. For 6 days, he worked, right? That was his pattern. In the beginning, Elohim, not the Big Bang Theory, not some germ or monkey. Elohim alone created the heavens and the earth. Thus, the heavens and the earth were completed. This is Genesis 2 now, in all their array. And in the seventh day, Elohim completed his work which he had done. So we're seeing a clue what the seventh represents.
Mhm.
The seventh represents completion, right? Perfection and completion. So the heavens and the earth were completed and all their array. And in the seventh day, Elohim completed his work which he had done. Okay. And then he rested on the seventh day. That's what he did. He set the pattern for how things should be done. Work 6 days, rest on the seventh. On the seventh day, Elohim rested. So remember that. And this is what it says about that day. Bereshith chapter 2. And Elohim blessed the seventh day and set it apart, because on it he rested from all his work which Elohim in creating had made. So this is interesting now. Elohim worked 6 days, right? He didn't set those days apart. He used those first 6 days as a form of work.
Mhm.
He worked on the first day. He worked on the second day. He worked on the third day, fourth, fifth, sixth day. He worked and completed his work. And then on the seventh day, when everything was done, when everything was completed, he got to that seventh day and he set that day apart. He made that day special from the other 6 days. Why? Because on it he rested from all his work which Elohim in creating had made. So we're seeing his pattern. He gave us a 7-day week. 6 days he worked. The seventh day he set apart as a very special day for himself to rest. Not that he needed rest, right? He's all powerful. But what he's doing, he is setting a pattern for humankind to follow. He wants humankind to work 6 days, and the day that he set apart, he wants them to rest in that day. So in the first 6 days, we're doing what? We're creating. In the seventh day, we're doing what? We're recreating, right? Recreate, recreate. We're replenishing ourselves in the seventh day so that we can be fully energized to go forth on those next 6 days to give it everything that we need to be productive and to create. How many hear what I'm saying? We create for 6 days.
Mhm.
The seventh day, we recreate, we recreate, we rest. We do things that bring joy and energy to our bodies. It can be, walking, right? It certainly should spend time in his word. We can be resting in him. Some people don't even leave the house and they just spend time in his word, in prayer, being replenished, right? Being recreated in his presence. How many hear what I'm saying? So we see he set that day apart. He's still setting the pattern for how things should be done in the earth. Because remember how Yeshua prayed, let thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. How many hear what I'm saying? And so Yeshua is establishing the pattern of how he wants things to be done. So let's examine the patterns of creation. What do we discover from that? So in the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth came to be formless and empty, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the spirit of Elohim was moving on the face of the waters. And Elohim said, let light come to be, and light came to be. And Elohim saw the light, that it was good. So we're going to glean some things from this, these first few verses. So in the pattern of creation, we saw Yah move from darkness to light. And in essence, he was moving from chaos to order. So that word darkness, koset, right? Or kosik means misery, destruction, death, ignorance, sorrow, wickedness, darkness, the night, and obscurity. So Yah, when he saw creation, when he began his creation process, and there's some theories about what was really had happened between verse 1 and verse 2 of Genesis, many believe that when Yeshua said, I beheld Satan as lightning fall to the earth, well, that blast had to create some havoc, right? The impact of him hitting the earth had to have done some damage. And so we believe that him being blasted to the earth caused his creation to be destroyed. And therefore, he had to now recreate what he had already done. Because think about it. If you're starting from scratch, why would you have chaos and darkness and misery and destruction and death and ignorance be a part of the building process? It wouldn't be. So we believe, and I have to accept that premise, that probably his creation was being recreated as a result of what happened with the devil. So again, what's the first thing we find in this pattern of creation? Yah moved from darkness to light, from chaos to order. So moving from light, which is aura or Torah, or light, is illumination or an illuminary, which brings happiness, brightness, clarity, prosperity. So he's moving from all these things that bring pain and moving to an area of light, illumination, happiness, and prosperity. So, things start, when the Most High start, things are normally in a not so desirable state. And he always concludes in the most desirable state, right? And we're going to see another pattern. Bereshith chapter 1 and verse 5. And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and there came to be evening, and there came to be morning one day. Evening, and then morning one day. So what's the next pattern? Number 2, Yah moves from evening to morning. See, he's not going to start the day off in the daytime and conclude in that state of darkness. He starts his day in the evening and it moves to a more desirable state, right? The light. He moves from darkness into light. That's why he says the evening and then the morning was one day. So you see his pattern. That's why right now we're literally moving into Saturday evening. Right now, sundown, we're moving into Saturday evening, and we're going to conclude on the Shabbat when? Saturday afternoon, right? Saturday morning into afternoon, as the sun is at its highest. That's going to be the conclusion of the day. And then we're going to be moving tomorrow into Sunday night. That's how he tells time. And so a lot of times people don't understand when you see events happening in the Bible, like they said early on Sunday, Yeshua was seen. But what was really happening is the Shabbat was ending, and people don't do work until after Shabbat is over. And so when the women was going to redo his grave clothes, they were not going to do that work until after Shabbat was over. And so they went early on Sunday, which meant late Saturday night. They went to his tomb and found that he was gone. Right? They found that he was gone. So we don't know when he left. We just know that when they got there, he was already gone. I believe that the Lord of Shabbat rose on Shabbat, right? Why would he raise up on another day when he's already Lord of a particular day? He's a Adon of Shabbat, all right? So his days move from evening to morning. I want to establish these patterns here. Thus the heavens and the earth were completed in all their array. And in the seventh day, Elohim completed his work, which he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. So Yah moves from working 6 days to resting on the seventh day. He starts out his week working. He works on the first day, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day. He's working, which gives us something to look forward to at the end of the week.
Mhm.
See, when things end, it's got to be ending in its greatest state. That's his pattern. We've already saw that. Moving from darkness to light, from chaos to order, from evening to the morning, and from working to get into a place where I don't have to work anymore. I can rest. Why would you want to start out resting and then have to work? You know, you want to have something to look forward to, right? So you work first and then you rest. That's his pattern. Doesn't make sense. That's his pattern. He works 6 days, he rests on the seventh day. So in the pattern of creation, we see Yah moving from darkness to light, from chaos to order, from evening to morning, and from working 6 days to resting one, the seventh. In addition, Yah considers this pattern to be perfect and complete. Start in darkness, end in light. Start in chaos, end in order. Start the day in the evening and end it in the morning. Start the week with work and end it with rest. That is his pattern from the beginning. From beginning, the law first mentions, right? The way that he starts a thing is the way he's going to continue a thing, right? It's the way he did things from the very beginning of time, and it's the way he wants things to continue. This, again, as I indicated before, is the law first mentioned. And so when he started his process, when time began, and time began with his creation, he created a pattern for us to follow his way of doing things. How many hear what I'm saying? This is his pattern. This is his pattern. The pattern of Elohim can often be summarized by the number 7. Yah identifies with the number 7. It represents perfection. It represents completeness. You contrast this with the number of man, which is 6. The number 6 and its meaning are related to man and human weakness. The evils of the devil, which is why his number is 666. You know, his unholy trinity, 666, right? And the manifestation of sin. The man was created on day 6 of the creation week. Men are appointed 6 days to labor, and then are commanded to rest on the 7th day. So that 7th day is Friday sunset to Saturday sunset. So we'll take a look at this question. I don't think it's the law that is the problem. I'm confused on who named the days and made Sunday the first day. We'll get to that. We're not going to deal with that today, but we will get to that. Right now, I'm just laying foundation. Okay, but trust me, we're going to deal with all of that before this lesson is done, okay? Before this series is completed. So the use of 7 in Scripture. And I want to show you how significant the 7th is in Scripture is to the Most High. You know, he associates himself with the 7th, so much so that he gave us the Shabbat, the 7th day, and called it holy. So the first thing we see, the 7th day, Yah rested, right? Secondly, he requires 7 pairs of clean animals on the ark. You can find that in Genesis 7:2. 7 pairs of the clean animals were coming on the ark. Thirdly, there's 7 stems on the tabernacle lampstand. So when he gave the instructions to Moses to build the holy things, they had to build a menorah, which is a candlestick, and it had 7 different areas for the candles to rest on, because that's his number of completeness, his number of perfection. Next, there's 7 qualities of Messiah in Isaiah 11:2. So if you read that, you're going to find the 7 things that make up the Mashiach, right? Again, you can find that in Isaiah 11:2. There's 7 specific qualities of the Messiah. Next, 7th day of rest was given to Israel in Deuteronomy 5:12. Animals must be 7 days old to be sacrificed. Exodus 22:30. Not 6 days, not 8 days, 7 days, right? There was a man named Naaman. He was a warrior. And they had been in war with Israel, and he captured a handmaid. They didn't even give her a name, but she was an Israeli handmaid. And so in his home, when he got out of his garments, he took his armor off. The handmaid saw his body, that he had leprosy. And she mentioned to Naaman, "Oh, that you were in Israel today, that the prophet could lay hands on you and heal you." And when he heard that, he said, "I can be healed of my leprosy? I'm going to Israel." And so he went to the king and got letters and went to Israel to have audience with the prophet. And the king began to trip out, because he's like, this man is just trying to start some stuff here. I have no ability to heal no leprosy. But the word got to the prophet. And the prophet says, "Send him to me." And when he came to the prophet didn't even get up out of his tent. He told him to go dip in the Jordan River 7 times. And Naaman got mad about it. He said, "Man, I expect this man to come out and say some mighty words over me and begin to hit my body a certain way and decree that this stuff would leave my body." He got mad. And one of his servants said, "Naaman, now if he had told you to do some great thing, surely you would have been willing to go and do that, right? But all the man has asked you to do is go to the Jordan River and dip 7 times, and you can be healed. Now, what are you going to do? You going to get mad because he didn't do it the way you wanted to? Or you going to go and get your healing?" And Naaman said, "You know what? You're speaking wisdom right now, right? Let me get out of my pride." And he went and dipped in that Jordan River, that muddy Jordan River, 7 times, and he was completely cleansed. You can see the whole story on that in 2 Kings, the 5th chapter, okay? Look at this now. Joshua was commanded to march around the walls of Jericho for 7 days. On the 7th day, they marched around 7 times with 7 priests blowing 7 trumpets, and the walls came down. You kind of get the feeling that the Most High kind of like this number 7, right? Is there a pattern kind of showing up here? The 7 things the Elohim hate can be found in Proverbs 6:16. 7 parables of Yeshua in Matthew 13. One of the most important chapters in all of Scripture can be found in Matthew 13. 7 different parables that he gave in Matthew 13. The 7 woes that Yeshua spoke are listed in Matthew 23. A woe is something you don't want to experience. Woe unto them that do this, that, and the other. So Yeshua mentioned 7 woes. 70 weeks in prophecy in the book of Daniel. Let's look at this particular prophecy. Daniel 9, verse 24. Notice the language of this prophecy. Daniel 9:24. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to do what? To finish, to complete. That's what 7 is, a number of perfection, completion, right? So 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgressions and to make an end of sin, to make a reconciliation, another completion for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy, which means that the son of David, Yeshua HaMashiach, is going to be anointed to be the king and the ruler of the earth, of heaven and earth. Is going to be appointed. So when these 70 weeks are completed, all things are going to be culminated. It's going to be an end of sin, an end of transgression, an end of iniquity. It's going to be everlasting righteousness. He's going to seal up the vision and the prophecy. All that's been told from Genesis to Revelation is going to be fulfilled. And we're going to usher in a time of righteousness forever. 70 weeks is going to determine that. How many hear what I'm saying? Fulfill perfection and completeness. That's what he's doing. The use of 7 in scriptures, let's continue. The Babylonian captivity lasted what? 70 years. 7 times 10, 70 years. You can read about that in Jeremiah 29 and 10. The year of Jubilee, after passing 49 years, 7 times 7 is 49. Then that 50th year, the year after that, becomes the year of Jubilee. And basically what that means is, if you were in debt, you could actually literally sell yourself into slavery to pay off your debt. But at the end of that season, they had to let you go. They had to restore your land, anything that you experienced. The year of Jubilee, they could not wait to get to that. But that was all based upon a counting of 7, right? The year of Jubilee. Yeshua's sevenfold I am is found in the Gospel of John. You know, I am the bread of life. I am this, I am that. All unfolded in the Gospel of John. 7 times he said, I am, which associates himself with Elohim, which is the first thing he said to Moses when he revealed himself. He said, who should I say sent me? I am, right? So Yeshua, he associated himself with I am. Yeshua tells Peter to forgive 70 times 7 in one day, 490 times, and multiple of 7. He said, how many times should I forgive my neighbor if he offends me? 7 times? Yeshua said, no, not 7 times. 70 times 7. In other words, I know people have made us mad, but nobody has made us mad 70 times 7 in a day. 490 times, that ain't happening. So in other words, he's saying you got to walk in love and walk in forgiveness. Right. Just make that the rule of the day. But the key is, it was a multiple of 7. Elohim's judgments, 7 bowls of tribulation, can be found in Revelation 16 and 1. Or another instance, Yah's warning to Israel. You can find that in Leviticus 26:18. He gave them 7 warnings of things that's going to occur to them for their disobedience. Number 18, the 7 annual feasts of Elohim reveals the full plan of salvation. And we're going to cover this in great detail in this series. You can find those 7 annual feast days, Passover, First Fruits, Unleavened Bread, Pentecost, Feast of Trumpets, Yom Kippur, and the Feast of Ingathering or Tabernacles. We're going to discuss all those and why they are so critically important. 7 annual feast days. Seems like the Most High got a thing for that 7, right? The book of Revelation, the book that reveals the end time events. The number 7 is used more than 50 times in the book of Revelation. Let's look at some of these things. 7 letters to 7 churches, 7 spirits before Yah's throne, 7 golden lampstands, 7 stars in Mashiach's right hand, 7 seals of Elohim's judgment, 7 angels with 7 trumpets, 7 scrolls with 7 seals, and many more. 7, brother. 7. That number is associated with the Most High, whether it means he's bringing blessing or he's bringing cursing. He associates himself with that number 7 because it is perfect, it is complete in his mind. That's what he gave us. We need to recognize that. The book of Revelation, the final book of the Bible, full of 7s, marks the completion of Elohim's word, right? Revelation 22:18 talks about that. It completes the whole book of prophecy, and it is full of 7s, and the movement of the Elohim through 7s throughout that book. Why am I talking about these 7s? Think about this now. In the beginning, in the beginning of creation, he set apart a day, the seventh day, called it, it's the only one, and we're going to talk about this, the only day that he ever gave a name to, called it Shabbat, Sabbath. And then all of a sudden, for the last 1700 years, the church has been keeping the first day. So the question got to be, if the Most High is so obsessed with seven, what would cause him to convert from seven to all of a sudden going to the first day? It would have to be something amazing for him to have this much attraction to the number seven. And he started this thing out with calling the seventh day, his holy day. Then what happened? And we should be able to find it in scripture. If there is some event that caused the Most High to move from seven to all of a sudden the first day of the week becoming the most holy day. So, we had to deal with that. But I'm taking my time today to just lay this foundation of how important seven is to the Most High, right? It's important. It's obvious, right? The number seven appear in all of scripture over 700 times. Is it possible to conclude that this number is not important to Elohim? Right? It's obvious. And I haven't exhausted this. I'm just giving you a sampling of how many times seven shows up in scripture as a pattern of the Most High, right? Yeshua declared himself Lord of the Sabbath in Matthew 12:8. He said, I am Lord of the Sabbath. So if he's Lord of the Sabbath, how are we going to move from the Sabbath day, the seventh day, to all of a sudden the first day being the day? That ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen. Look at the other sevens. Yeshua's 7 miracles on the Sabbath. He heals a withered hand in Matthew 12:9. He cast out a devil in Mark 1:21. He heals Peter's mother-in-law on Mark 1:29. He heals a woman sick for 18 years. Luke 14:2 tells us. He heals a man with dropsy. Luke 14:2 tells us. He heals a man at the pool of Bethesda. John 5:8-9 tells us. He heals a man born blind at the pool of Siloam in John 9:14. The seventh day is the only day in the Bible given a name. The other 6 days weren't given a name, but the seventh day was called the Sabbath. And Elohim blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because on it he rested from all his work which Elohim had created and made. And then this is now in Exodus, the 16th chapter, verse 25. And Moses said, eat that today, for today is a Sabbath unto Yahweh. Today is a Sabbath unto Yahweh. For today is a Sabbath unto Yahweh. I'm sorry, I got stuck right there. But notice now, the Sabbath day is unto Yahweh. It's not unto us. It is his day, because it's a day that he rested. He hollowed that day out. He set a day apart. So when we keep Sabbath, we're keeping Sabbath unto the Most High. Moses said, eat that today, for today is a Sabbath unto Yahweh. Today you shall not find it in the field. What's he talking about? Gathering the manna. They had no food in the desert. So the Most High was literally feeding them with manna from heaven. And so every day in the morning, they would go out and find the manna, and they would gather the manna up, and they would have food to eat that day. So what happened? On the first day of the week, they found manna. On the second day of the week, a work day, they found manna. You can go find it, gather it, bake it, whatever you want to do. Third day of the week, they found manna. Fourth day of the week, they found manna. Fifth day, sixth day, they found manna. But on the sixth day, he said, gather enough for tomorrow, because tomorrow you're not going to find none in the field. Tomorrow is a day of rest, is what he's saying. 6 days you shall gather it, the manna. But on the seventh day, which is the Sabbath, in it there shall be none. No manna, because that's a day of resting. Right. You can cook it, you can boil it, or you can do whatever you want to do on the 6th day, and it will keep for the 7th day. That's what he's telling them to do. So and literally he did this whole thing that we're talking about in Exodus 16, this was designed as a test. He was testing to see whether they were going to be obedient to him by honoring his Sabbath. And guess what some of the people did? They went and ate all their food on the 6th day. And on the 7th day, they went out trying to find it. And it had none. So he was testing them. And some of them were knuckleheads. Some of them wanted to keep finding manna. And he said, no, there's a pattern here. 6 days you gather. 7 days is a day of rest. So he was training them in keeping his Sabbath day by feeding them with manna 6 days a week. On the 6th day, gather enough for the 7th day. On the 7th day, rest and eat what you gathered on the 6th day. So hopefully y'all starting to get this. And this is just an introduction to this lesson. I'm going to show you the very heart of the Most High starting next week in terms of how he feels about people not keeping his Sabbath day. We're going to make it very, very plain, okay? The 4th commandment found in the heart of the Decalogue specifies an exact period of time Elohim commands humans to rest. So that's what he let them know. That 7th day is a day of rest. The 10 commandments were so important to Elohim that he used his own finger to write them on tables of stone for the children of Israel. And included on that table was the 4th commandment, the Sabbath. Let's look at this now. Exodus 20. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days thou shalt labor and do all thy work. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of Yahweh. Is that what it said? The Sabbath of Yahweh. Not the Sabbath of man, not the Sabbath of the church, not the Sabbath of Jews, right? It's not the Sabbath of anybody but Yahweh. It is his Sabbath. Reading that verse 10 again. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of Yahweh, thy Elohim. In it you shall not do any work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, your manservant, your maidservant, your cattle, your stranger that is within your gates. Why? For in 6 days Yahweh made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and he rested on the 7th day. Wherefore Yahweh blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. He set it apart for himself. How many hear what I'm saying? That is how he works. That is how he works. And so he wrote this on stone with his finger, saying, this is what I want to see happen, because this is my day. And look, notice how he says it on a stone. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. And what has the church done? Forgot the Sabbath day, and they keep it unholy. They do everything under the sun on the very day he said to remember, right? So do we have any questions? This is just my introduction today. Are there any questions at all about the things that I covered today? Because all I wanted to do today was just kind of shed some light on why 7 is so important. And I did that, again, because if he starts this creation off, by identifying the 7 as something important to himself, and then we see that thread going all through Scripture, all the way to the end of the book, from Genesis to Revelation, we see that 7. It's no joke to him. It is serious. That 7 is important to him. He wants people to recognize it. See, just like on one of our last lessons, we talked about the other pattern. What was that pattern? How the younger shall be greater than the elder. Right? You remember that pattern? Yeah. You had Isaac, who was chosen over Ishmael, his older brother. You had Jacob, who was chosen over Esau, right? You had Ephraim chosen over Manasseh, right? You had Joseph chosen over the other 12. The Most High chose Yeshua, the last Adam, over the first Adam. He had that pattern, and that pattern stayed constant all through Scripture. He chose David, the second king, over the first king, who was a knucklehead, right? And so he has these patterns. These patterns keep showing up in Scripture. And this pattern of the 7 is the greatest pattern in all of Scripture. Over 700 times it shows up, because it is a number associated with the Most High, because it talks about perfect completeness, perfection, and that's what he is. He is perfect. He is complete. He is perfection. And so it would take something miraculous to get him to move away from this number that he has clearly demonstrated in Scripture is important to him. So are there any questions at all before we wrap up today? So that one question, I don't think it's a law that is a problem. I'm confused on who named the days and made Sunday the first day. So we will be dealing with this. Most likely next week, we'll probably get to the point where we start dealing with this, because we certainly going to deal with it. Catholicism certainly had a lot to do with it. The Catholic Church, they take great pride in having got the church to switch from Sabbath keeping to Sunday. They take great pride in that, because they know that there's no biblical scripture to support switching from the Sabbath day to the first day of the week. But they take great pride in knowing that the church has followed their lead, even though there's no scriptural support for it. So they're the ones that did it. And in terms of the names of the day of the days of the week are all came from pagan gods. Every one of those names, and I'll give you a list of those. Let me make a note of that. But I'll give you a list in this lesson of the names of the week and the gods that they represent. So you'll be able to do a screenshot on that. Make that note. All right, so we'll have that for you, most likely next week's lesson. So we're done for the day. Let's go ahead and wrap up. All right, so remember, Saints, we will be dropping this video on Tuesday, 11 a.m. It'll be fresh and ready to go. And so we'll drop this on Tuesday, so you get a chance to have this foundational teaching. It's going to be the springboard into a powerful lesson on why Sabbath keeping is important to the Most High. And we will be talking about, again, all the knuckleheads that participated in getting the church out of position and keeping wrong days and wrong feast days and all of that. We're going to deal with all of that. When we get done with this series, there's going to be no doubt what we should be doing and what we should be avoiding. There's not going to be any doubt. The Most High woke me up a couple of weeks ago, 3 o'clock in the morning, and began to deal with me not only about Sabbath keeping, but also the 7 annual feast days versus keeping the pagan holidays, Ishtar worship, the worship of Tammuz, which happens in the month of December on December 25th. That is Tammuz's birthday. So Tammuz, believe it or not, is the reason for this season, right? And they just try to, incorporate him into the church. That's what the Catholic Church did. They brought him in. They brought Ishtar in, and they made it Easter. And they just called it Resurrection Sunday, but really it's pagan worship. They called it Christ Mass, but it's really the day-to-day worship Tammuz. And I'm gonna show you a video too. Of these people doing a Christmas march. And they got a Santa Claus leading the way. And I want to show you the characters that are following him. And it's going to be eye-opening. We're going to do that next week. Let me make a note of that. We're going to do that next week. You're going to see the real spirit of Christmas when you see this video. Go ahead, Terry.
I just want to say, I need you guys to keep in mind, as we go through this lesson, we're not trying to make you do anything. What we're trying to do is enlighten you of who you love, and if you love them, what you do for the person that you love. That's one thing. And then the second thing is, how deep do I want my love to go?
Mm-hmm.
Because if I want my love with Yeshua to be the type of love that he had for me, where it says that he so loved the world that he gave his life for it, that we should have fellowship with him, then we have to really look at what's more important. You know, because some people have been doing Sunday worship all of their lives, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years, because this is tradition.
Right.
This is what my mama did, my daddy, my great grandmother. But the scripture clearly says that the traditions of men make the word of Elohim of no effect. So you have to get past what tradition says and fall in love with Yeshua, really fall in love with him. And I mean, you may even have to get to the point where you're praying like Yeshua prayed, to get your flesh under subjection, to do the will of the Most High, in spite of what people may say, in spite of how you feel, but you're going to do what's right because you know this is right.
Mm-hmm. Right. She said, teach, sister. This is very powerful. Now, I'm glad you said that too, because one thing I want to bring out, these things that we're covering right now is not about salvation per se. Salvation comes as a result of your belief in the finished work of Yeshua, right? You believe that he's the son of Elohim, right? You believe that he died upon the cross, he shed his blood. You believe after 3 days he rose from the dead, right? So he said, if you believe in that finished work that he did, you know, you shall be saved. You believe that he was born of a virgin birth, right? You believe that he was a sinless sacrifice. You know, those are the requirements for salvation. What we're doing now is teaching you the things that you need to have proper fellowship with the Most High. Once you're in relationship, you know, it's one thing that you find somebody and you say, you know, I love this person, I want to get married, right? So now you go through the steps. You say, you know, you get the marriage license, you get the rings, you get the witnesses, you get the magistrate, and you go through the ceremony. You get married. So that's the marriage, you know, that's done. So if you believe in Yeshua, you're one of his. But now you've got to get into that address together. You got to begin to live together. And sometimes people go through some pains. Some people be hogging all the cover, right? And you find yourself fighting over the cover and crying because you don't have no cover, and who's gonna take out the trash and all this other stuff. So marriage is not, you're not married because you take out trash or you don't take out trash. You take out trash because you're married, right? You know, marriage don't mean I'm sharing cover. You know, you share the cover because you're married, right? So the things that we're doing is trying to find out, what are the actions I must take as a believer that makes the Most High pleased with me?
That's it.
I hope that makes sense. It's not, if you don't do this, you're not saved.
Right.
It is, if you want to have a pleasing relationship with the Most High, you need to understand these things so you can make right choices, okay? Now, I will say this. It can affect your walk, not doing right things. You know, we know that the 10 virgins, there were 5 wise and 5 foolish. The 5 foolish did not fully understand the will of the Most High. And they missed out on some things. They missed out on a marriage supper. You know, some people, the scripture says, are going to go to the banquet and it's going to be time for rewards to be given out. Some people will get rewards based upon their works. You know, some people's works, he said, is going to be tried by fire. And some people's work is going to be like pure gold or silver. And then he said other people's work is going to be like wood and hay and stubble. Now I'm going to ask you a question. How does wood and hay and stubble hold up in fire? Not well at all, right? Not well at all. So if you find your works being compared to wood and hay and stubble, when the trial by fire come to try your works, you're gonna find out that you're gonna say, you know what, I should have done that a little bit better. I need my works to have been showing up like pure gold, because gold will hold up under fire. But some people's works are going to appear before Yahweh as wood, hay, and stubble, because they knew Yahweh's will, and they didn't do it. Okay, right? And what Don say, nevertheless, not my will, but thy will be done. That's what we need to be striving for. Find out his will, and then do his will, right? And then do it right because it's right. Right? You know, it's not a debate. I'm not presenting any of this stuff for a debate. I'm just presenting this information. The decision that people make after hearing it is up to them. I'm just a messenger. Go ahead, T.
I just want to give a quick testimony. I had taken a job because I felt like I needed extra money to take care of certain things. And in taking this job, it caused me to have to work on a Shabbat. And I thought about it. In fact, I remember one day I was so tired after working a full-time job and then having to do something else. I was like, almost I need something that's gonna help me get through this, you know. And I have to be honest, the enemy tried to tempt me, you know, to go back to what I used to do and to give me the energy and everything to keep going through these things. And I thought about it. I'm like, you know what, devil, you are a liar. You know, I know I'm tired, but I ain't that tired. And I said, Most High, what am I going to do? I need some strength. And he said, you didn't ask me. Just plain and simple, you didn't ask me. I said, Most High, give me some strength to get through this so I can do this job. So he gave me the strength. But then he started dealing with me. And he was like, you're not supposed to be working on the Sabbath anyway. So why are you working? And I'm like, because I need to get some money. I need the money to take care of my business. And he said, either you trust me or you don't. Either you're going to trust me and follow my will, or you're not. And I had to really stop and think about that, you know. And I'm like, wow, the little things that we do, we just do them because that's how our mindset goes. We don't stop and think, well, Most High, what do you want me to do? How do you want me to handle this? And trust that your word says you will supply all of my needs according to your riches and glory. So it didn't, you know, it wasn't based on anything other than just trusting in his word. So I went to my job and I told them, I said, you know, I'm sorry. I know you're supposed to get an X amount of time to before you quit. I said, but I can't. I said, I have to quit this job. And I have to quit this job because I am Hebrew and I am not supposed to be working on the Sabbath. And do you know, them people didn't give me a hard time at all. And once I explained my situation to them, they said, I understand. And I have to say this, I have not missed a bill since I made that choice. And I've had a little extra still in my pockets. May not have been a whole lot, but I've had it. I'm gonna have to trust him. If I trust him, it's more than just my words. My actions have to denote that I trust him.
That's right.
So when we do those things that we know are right, in spite of what the situation looks like, that is showing him that we trust him to be our everything, to be our supplier, to be our healer, to be our deliverer, to be our Elohim.
Yes.
Our keeper, our lover. You know, and so that's just my testimony. Either we love him or we don't. You know, I love my husband. And because of that, I'm faithful to him. It ain't nothing he's doing. I love him. And because I love him, I'm faithful to him. You know, and that's just the way it is.
That's it. All right. Anybody else have any questions or comments? We have some great feedback in the chat. All right. So is that it? Anybody else? All right. Well, hopefully you got some knowledge to lay this foundation. Don says, so I can talk a good game, tested by my words. Yahweh help me in my faith, right? I know that's right. We have to be more than just lip service. It's gotta be shown in our actions. And the Most High is more than able to equip all of us with what we need to do those things that are pleasing in His sight. All right, so we appreciate all of you that joined us today. We trust that you got something great out of this word. Again, this is just a foundation. You know, you can't build a house without a foundation. And so this is all I was doing today, was laying the foundation. I'm being a good attorney and being a good builder. You know, I wanted to lay this foundation, and we're going to build a house on this. And when we get done building this house, there's going to be no questions about what I should be doing with my life when it comes to Sabbath keeping, what I should be doing in my life when it comes to these annual feast days. You know, should I be, keeping Ishtar worship? Should I be keeping, Tammuz worship in December? Should I be doing any of this other foolish stuff? Or is there something that the Most High has given me clearly in His word that is a pattern of what He is all about? Okay, so we're gonna make it very clear, saints. All right, let's go ahead and pray out. May Yahweh bless you and keep you. May Yahweh make His face shine upon you and show you His favor. May Yahweh lift His face upon you and give you what? Shalom, peace, nothing missing, nothing broken, and nothing lacking. And again, remember, again, for those of you that have not already subscribed, make sure you subscribe to Dr. Russ E. Hoover on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. You watch those videos and hit that thumbs up. Hit the bell so you can receive all the notifications of new videos are coming out. And remember, saints, because the greater one lives inside of you, greater is He that is in you than he that's in the world. And I've been reading the book of Revelation this week, and I want to let you know, I found out one thing. We win and the devil loses. All right. So remember that, saints. Till next time, this is Dr. Rusty Hoover signing off. Be blessed, saints.
You give me that very fast.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.